Viewpoint, your program of personalities, politicians, and perspectives. Because we want to keep our FCC license, we're going to forget the politicians this morning and just work on personalities and perspectives. But first, before that, I have a couple of kudos I'd like to bring in. Is usually on Wednesday morning, the old fellow tries to find somebody or somehow somebody's done something especially nice around the community. Joe Shaler and a bunch of volunteers made our courthouse lawn come alive last week with almost 3,000 flags out there on the courthouse lawn, and it was a spectacular event to see. And by the way, they had a very nice program. So kudos. I mean, real big kudos to everybody involved in that. It was a really, really neat program. And further kudos, the Daughters of the American Revolution, testing 1, 2, the Daughters of the American Revolution, managed to have on a replica of our unknown tomb. And it was a very, very moving little ceremony they had out there at the American Legion. And I kind of told some of the old DIR members, my mother was a staunch member of the Daughters of the American Revolution and very proud of it, until they wouldn't let Marian Anderson sing. And she got torqued and dropped her membership in the DER, which meant a lot to her. And then she later renewed it, but she was really torqued when the DIR wouldn't let Marian Anderson sing out there. In any event, that's trivia. On a more serious note, and I mean this very sincerely, those of you who don't read the media might not know that station manager and janitor and everybody else up here, Jim Ash, on a serious note, lost his mother last week. Lovely lady, and the reason I mention it is COVID has changed the way we do things, unfortunately, and a lot of people have to miss visitations. And something that might fall through the cracks, and probably a lot of times fall through the cracks, is when we go through a visitation line, it's a convenient way for us to make a contribution in memory of the person for whom we're visiting. And so sometimes those folks who might get a couple of bucks here and there lose out because of the fact that nobody went to the visitation, because there was no visitation. COVID forced it. So I'd like to announce to you that the Atlanta Rescue Squad and the Atlanta Public Library would be happy to hear from you if you might want to make a contribution in the name of Laura Jane Sparks Ash, lovely lady and a great mother. So just think about that, folks. Mrs. Busby, let's get serious here and introduce our guest. As if I wasn't serious a minute ago.
Good plan. We have two here with us in the studio, and we have Kirby Rodgers.
Who sells vacuum cleaners.
Who sells vacuum cleaners by way of technology in Florida. And he's going to be with us too. These three people are members of the Jefferson Street Christian Church, and not that they've been there for 50 years, but the church has. And they're going to give us a little background on that church. I think it's always so interesting to hear how a church starts, because so many times it starts because several of the members got a little torqued with where they'd been going for generations and wanted to try a new approach. And we're going to hear how it worked at Jeff Street, and it's been around here for quite a while now, 50 years. So we've got Barb Kline and Elaine Woolard here with us.
Woolard. Elaine Woolard.
What did I say?
Willard.
And what was I supposed to say?
Woolard. Instead of a W-I, it's W-W-O-O-L-A-R-D.
Boy, am I sorry.
I think that's enough worry about my last name. You can just call
Don't you
me
have
Elaine.
to worry about that?
No.
My maiden name was Judith Nesseth, so I should be used to names that are hard to pronounce, shouldn't I? I didn't do very well, did I?
You're fine.
I'm so sorry. I hope I'm working out, Jim.
Well, the trial period is almost over, so we're going to find out next week whether she's back with us or not. It's a given that one of us is going to mess up during the course of the week. It's one of us.
Can we join you?
Yeah, sure. Well, we're happy to have you along there. Mrs. Woolard told me on the phone the other day, call me Elaine, and my mommy taught me to always respect my elders.
Yeah, right.
So I will continue with Mrs. Woolard.
As you like.
Well, it really hardly matters, does it? I mean, in the whole scheme of things,
No.
an I and an O, they're both vowels.
Is Kirby with us? Yeah. Mr. Rodgers?
We're so glad you're here to
your
be with us. Oh, and here is
Okay,
your
fine.
friend.
We'll bring you right in, Kirby. Go right ahead.
Say hi.
Hi, how are you today?
Are he hearing us?
Yes, he's
I'm
doing
hearing
fine.
you fine. Can
Am
you
I
hear
hearing
me?
him? No, because I can't have this on.
Judith is just a novice here, Kirby. She forgot her headsets. So
Well,
how are things down in Florida today, my friend?
it's sunny and balmy, and I'm sitting out under the lanai with the ceiling fan on, and I'm happy as a hog in a mud puddle.
Well, I don't blame you.
Your time is over now. Goodbye. Kirby, we're happy to have you on with us, even though it's due to the advantages of the fellow who invented radio. Whatever his name was, Jim. Ray Canuckle, I guess. In any event, we're happy to have you with us, Kirby. We have you're being upstaged, though. We have two lovely ladies here in the studio with us, and it would be difficult for you to get a word in edgewise if you were not on the radio. So, tell us about your involvement, Mr. Rodgers, in the 50th anniversary celebration of Jeff Street.
Well, our small group meets on every Sunday night, and we've got about 12 members in the small group, and we decided we would like to help with the coordination of activities. So my involvement is heavy into the October 2nd day, when we're going to have a community celebration outside at the church from 11 to 3.
Now, when you say outside the church, what if it rains that day, sir?
Well, the good Lord's going to give us good weather, but we do have a second plan. We'll be inside if necessary.
That's what's known as backup plan A. Well, you have the distinct privilege of working two lovely ladies here. They're nice enough to come up here in the studio with us. Mrs. Woolard, would you like to say say something nice about Kirby, though? But
Well, I'll say good morning first. Okay,
Yeah.
It's good to hear your voice again, Kirby. It's been a while since we've seen you.
Thank you.
Kirby's a great organizer, and so he was perfect person to coordinate all the activities of this busy Saturday, because we wanted to have so many activities available to our whole community is invited, and so we're hoping the whole community will come.
And we should.
So he's rounded up lots of fun things for people to do, and he's had helpers too, just as we all have. But there's 4 different musical groups that are going to perform for live music outdoors. There's a juggler and a face painter and bouncy houses for the kids, and food, certainly, that's free. Even Nuthatch is bringing over pork barbecue sandwiches for us, and Top Hat's providing ice cream and cotton candy, and there'll be popcorn and water for drinking, but just lots of good stuff for people to do. There's a horse-drawn wagon that Kirby found someplace, and you can get in the wagon and they'll pull you around the block for a ride, and it's all free for everybody. And so we're just hoping Saturday, October 2nd, that we're just flooded,
now, all
with
these
a ton of
things
people.
cost money, Mrs. Woolard.
Yes.
Will there be a free will plate there somewhere? Somebody could,
No.
or if somebody would like to send a check in advance, that would be certainly more than welcome.
Well, churches exist on donations, usually just from their members. That we're not charging anybody anything for this. The church is paying for everything.
Well, that's very nice, because, and by the way, I'd like to urge folks to take advantage of it. Let's say the day and the hours again, so that we make sure that we all understand it out there.
Sure. Saturday, October 2nd, from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. The food is only available between 12 and 1:30. But the other things are going most of the time. I think the live music stops at 2:30, something like that. But the rest of it, the games and the horse-drawn wagon thing and the juggler and all that, I think they're doing pretty much the whole 4-hour span.
That horse-drawn wagon is going to be fun for kids. They'll
Oh,
like
yeah.
that. Oh,
For
all
everybody.
those things will be fun for kids, whatever age we are.
Well, yeah, I forgot. The Doolins are bringing over their fire engine, and kids and adults can climb in or on or whatever, you know.
Say, by the way, you mentioned a couple of local vendors, Nuthatch and Top Hat Ice Cream.
Yeah,
Folks put out some nice products.
they do.
And I'm not a bit abashed about making a commercial on their behalf this morning because they're going to participate and help there.
Yeah.
By the way, one of I'm not sure who's the chairman of this, ladies or Mr. Rodgers. I think they could outshine Kirby if they put their mind to it. Although I have great respect for Kirby. I kid him a lot, but he works on me pretty good too.
Yeah.
Mrs. Kline.
Reciprocity.
Yeah, it's called reciprocity. Can you spell that? Mrs. Kline, go ahead, please, dear.
Well, Judy had asked earlier about the history of how the congregation formed, and it was 50 years ago when the leadership at Lincoln Christian Church they were searching for avenues to figure out a space problem for their building because their congregation was growing and they didn't have enough space to do everything they wanted to do. And one of the options that was considered was to birth or start a new congregation at a different location in the city that would use a core group of members from that congregation who would be willing to be part of the formation of the new congregation. And after much discussion and prayer, that's what they decided to do. They already had 38 family units who had agreed that they would be willing to make this move. And so once that decision was made, and actually I think it came about fairly fast after some consultation, and the Lincoln Christian Church congregation had a sending off or blessing service on the evening of October 3rd, 1971, and prayed for the congregation or for the folks who were planning to be the new congregation. And our first service was on October 10th, the next Sunday morning, and we had arranged to meet in Adams School. And so the beginning for our first several months was at Adams School. And so we spent Saturday afternoon setting chairs up in the gymnasium and the workings for having a worship service and some Sunday school classes. They allowed us to use their classrooms, and we had to put everything back to order after we finished on Sunday morning, but that worked for us very well. And the school district was very gracious in allowing us to have those facilities until we could purchase property. And that ended up being the Clem Hatchery, which is on the location where we are now. And so that was done in the following year, and after some refurbishment.
But they still never got all the chicken feathers out of
I was
it.
going to say, you still got some chickens running around there?
We joked about having services in there were 2 or 3 buildings on the property, and we met in the one that's still there, the round-topped building, and we would joke about feathers floating down during the service. But it served us very well for
But you
the
know, underlying
beginnings.
this whole story, I'm sitting here thinking, underlying this whole story, and I go back to when the Christian Church built their new church, catty corner from the library. Mm-hmm. You don't remember where the old Christian church was, Judith, and it was right next to the library. There was a parking lot there.
Oh,
But underlying all of this that's taken place here is one word, and he's evidenced a great deal of that, and that word would be faith. Mm-hmm. And the folks in that congregation had tremendous faith, because that's expensive.
yes.
And, how are we going to do this? Well, they put their shoulder to the wheel, and by golly, they did it.
Well, and there was, in reading through some of the documents recently, I think I was aware of this at the time, but it recalled to my mind, there was not necessarily universal enthusiasm because
Be it ever thus.
yeah, because there was recognition that if there were 38 families, even though it was a good-sized congregation at the time, there was a recognition. I can't.
Join the club.
Yeah, recognition that 38 family units leaving that would stress the mother congregation.
The mother church, yeah.
And so there were going to be stresses there. And so it was faith on the part of both groups. And I'm grateful to say, looking back over the 50 years, there are many things that we've cooperated on, many activities and that sort of thing. Shared Sunday evening services in the park for several years, and our folks have, if not actually participated in the Harvest of Talents that Lincoln Christian Church started over 25 years ago. Yes, we've certainly supported it with purchases, and so our some of the choir exchanges and just lots of different things that we've been able to work together on now over the 50 years.
Well, let's talk too about the people who did leave the mother church. You know, that's a big decision. I think changing churches is kind of emotional.
Yes.
You know, you say, I belong to, and fill in the blank. Well, that's the truth. You really do belong to your church. And for all that many families to say, okay, we'll give it a flyer, that's brave.
And especially if some of those family units had elementary school, high school age youngsters.
Sure.
And if you're used to being in a Sunday school class or a youth group, and then all of a sudden you're planted somewhere else, and there's a lot fewer of you, there's no place to hide. and it's just harder. It's just harder. And so, folks went with the faith that they could make it work.
By the way, we have some sponsors who have great faith. We're always going to bring them in. But that every Wednesday morning, Judy and I look at the clock and say, no, we haven't got the sponsors yet. So go right ahead, Mr. Ash. And having paid obeisance to our sponsors, and we certainly do appreciate them. Right back this morning, here live on a hill at the County Road 2250. Viewpoint would be the name of the program each Wednesday morning, 0815 to 0900 hours. Our guest this morning, and we're talking now about the Jeff Street Christian Church. We're going to have a big celebration coming up here, and the ladies, and we also have the fellow down there in Florida basking away in the sunshine, Mr. Kirby Rodgers. Kirby, are you still with us here on the air?
I'm with you.
Good. We're certainly happy to have. By the way, Kirby's responsible for hanging me on the courthouse square. He and several others. The Rotary was in charge of that project, and Mr. Rodgers took the lead on that. And that's, I'm telling you, we old-timers appreciate driving around the square and seeing how young we were at one point in time. Anyway, Mr. Rodgers is vitally involved in those military pictures around the square, and we do appreciate that today, Kirby, even now. So, Mrs. Woolard and Mrs. Kline, who would like to take the lead now on talking about the next thing that's coming up with Jeff Street Christian Church?
Well, I think what our elders have asked us to do in this planning is, for our worship services at least, we're going to talk a series of 3 weekends, past and present. And then on our actual anniversary date, October 10th, the elders are going to talk about the future and what their vision for the congregation is. And Chairman of Elders explained to me when he was describing what they wanted, he said for that weekend, he said the elders want to describe their vision for what the congregation will look like when we are fulfilling our mission. And so our mission statement says that our plan is to bring people to a deeper relationship with God. And our vision statement uses the phrase, no pretending, we are broken people helping broken people find Jesus. And so I'm just excited to he didn't describe to me details about how they want to present this to the congregation. But we do know that the emphasis is going to be much more intentional, reaching out into the community. We do have some resources that we can share with the community, already sharing a food pantry that's been in operation for several years. Very dedicated group of men who will deliver food twice a week to folks who need it as we become aware of requests. And that's been ongoing. Those fellows try and keep a relationship going with the folks who are regulars. Sometimes it's just people who need a little bit of tiding over with some supplies, some food supplies. But there are some longtime users of the pantry who have some serious problems, and our guys try and stay in touch with them and help out there. We have a history of attempting to help folks who need other things. We have some gentlemen who have built ramps for folks who need them. They're wheelchair users or have difficulty using steps, and so we've built ramps. We're just trying to make connections with people in the community who don't feel, they just feel empty, or don't have a really good purpose for themselves in life. And we believe that we can help point them to a source that will help them live fulfilling lives in the person of Jesus. And so that's the Christianity part of it.
You had to really appreciate working with this lady when you worked at the hospital together.
I did.
I mean, that's pretty profound.
She's a sharp cookie. Everybody said so.
May I ask one thing for you? Would you repeat that statement? We are broken people. Would you repeat that statement again? And the reason I ask you that, I'm sitting here listening, and I think all of a sudden that's pretty profound. Somebody or somebody's plural came up with something very profound. Would you read that again, please?
As history for this, we did have a concerted effort about 4 years ago where church leaders and members of the congregation sat for several sessions, and they thrashed through what is our purpose here.
Mission statements.
Yes, mission, vision, values, and thrashed through all those. And the statement that they ended up with for our vision statement is, no pretending, we are a broken people helping broken people find Jesus. Understanding that we're not perfect, we're not fixed. It's a lifelong journey.
Just a basic statement.
Yes.
A truism.
Yes.
Do you think that to be involved in something this big, it takes on a life of its own? Does it become a part of your thinking and a part of what your heart desires?
Yes. I would personally say that. Yes.
So although you're very busy doing good things in the community, as you've stated, what does it do for you too? Doesn't it make you feel good?
Well, yes. Go ahead, Elaine, if you want to.
I think it's a great thing to feel like you have partnered with God in His work in this world. Because that's why He sent Jesus, was to rescue this world from the awfulness that Satan just throws at us all day long, every day. And to find yourself partnering with Him in His work is a really, really good situation.
Gives you a good rest at night, doesn't it?
Absence makes the heart grow fonder, Kirby. We want to not cut you out of this conversation. You feel free to come in with anything you'd like, but remember, I'm going to take it all down.
Okay, I'm going to recap some activities once again. Our community celebration is Saturday, October 2nd from 11 to 3.
Right.
We're going to be outside behind the church. We're going to wrap around all the way to Exchange Park. We're using the park for bounce houses. I'd like to invite the community out. We're going to free pulled pork sandwiches and hot dogs for the kids, and we're going to have ice cream, cotton candy. And Judy, especially for you, I'd like you to come out, and the balloon artist will make you a crown suitable to the queen you are.
Oh my goodness! Now you're my best friend,
You've
Kirby.
not
Wasn't
lost your
that
touch
easy?
yet, Kirby.
Now, Mr. Gossett,
Keep it up.
I want you,
She's
I
smiling
want
ear
you
to
to
ear.
come out and see the face painter, because I think you might be able to use a little touch-up.
Yes. Oh, I tell you, I've been around for 82 years. I need a lot of touch-up.
Well, and I'm thinking, and Mr. Gossett, I got a spot for you to volunteer. I need somebody to walk behind the horse wagon with a broom and a shovel.
Well, listen, I've used a broom and a shovel before.
That fits
I
my
could do
psyche. That fits my psyche. Having grown up as a kid in the farm at Burton View, that's just right with me. I'll tell you a long story about my dad and dad turning me loose with a team of horses one day. So
love you, man.
I'll have the broom and a number 2 shovel.
Now, Kirby, I need another time frame too. On the 2nd of October is the big celebration.
Yes.
But now tell us what time on the 3rd you're having your church service, because there will be those who would like to come to that too. So would you
And
do
bring
that?
money.
And bring
Okay, Barb, you handle that one.
Okay, our regular worship service times are 9 a.m. in the morning and 10:45 a.m. We do also stream those online, but of course, for folks who are wish to and are particularly comfortable now in larger gatherings, it's certainly welcome to come to the worship services anytime, not just on our birthday, the 10th. That particular day, we are going to do a mortgage burning. And so, yes, Bill mentioned about expenses, and yes, of course, there have been expenses. We didn't stay in the hatchery building that long, although we still do use that building for the food pantry ministry. But the rest of the buildings where we have worship services and Bible school classes, that did come with an expense, and we were able a little bit earlier in the summer to finalize the mortgage payment, and so we are going to burn the mortgage on Sunday morning the 10th.
I bet that was a happy thing to realize that was finally here.
Because the primary reason, not just because, we didn't like seeing that money go out the door like that, but because then it will allow us to move that particular amount of money into community services and into reaching out in the community like we've wanted to do for a long time and couldn't because of, that
you had
obligation.
To pay your bills, didn't you? Yeah.
Yes.
That'll happen.
Yes.
Mrs. Woolard?
Yes, I agree. It's going to be a really interesting service on October 10th. Actually, the service where we're going to focus on the past, which you've heard a little bit here this morning about, is September 26th, which is just coming right up. So people are, as Barb said, they're welcome to a service anytime, but these 3 will be particularly special. So that's the focus on the past. We'll still have the same preaching. We haven't really Michael Malik is our preaching minister at the time, and he's just really passionate about people who need to know about Jesus. And you'll hear that every Sunday. It's not all you're going to hear, but you'll hear that in him. The following week, October 3rd, which is the day right after our big birthday party, I like to call it, for the whole community, will be our present focus, and we can kind of give people an assessment. Here's where we think we are. And it'll still be a great time for visitors, from past members to past preachers, all kinds of people from past as well as in the present, are going to enjoy that service. But October 10th is the one that I think most of us are really looking forward to, because that is the actual 50th anniversary of getting a start here in this community from a new perspective, with a different team of leaders, with a little bit different focus sometimes than Lincoln Christian Church has. Not that either one is bad, they're just different. And a community as varied as ours is needs all the variety it can get. So I've remembered too one other program, service, whatever, that we're providing the community and have for several years, is that on Tuesday nights we have a Celebrate Recovery group. And so there are a group of people, it used to be both men and women, come who need help dealing with their addictions of whatever kind it is. We've lost our female leaders, and so consequently we can only have men at this point. But they continue on, and they're doing a good service for a lot of people.
You know, there's a ministry that is extremely important for those who have an addictive problem.
Yes.
Finding somewhere to go, and I have no knowledge about this of any kind, except...
Praise God.
Yeah, exactly correct. Thank God. Not that I didn't test him a few times, maybe, but nonetheless, seriously, a person with that, they're adrift, and until they find an organization, be it your church or whomever church, or just an agency that helps, that's a godsend for those people. And God sends people like that down to help people with addictive problems.
They talk about the focus of the group for folks who have habits, hurts, and hang-ups, I believe is the phrase.
Well, now that's kind of clever.
So that's pretty broad. It can go maybe just a little beyond addiction per se, but certainly there's a resource there.
Under the hurts titling, there are so many who are hurting just because they don't feel that they belong. They just don't feel socially acceptable somehow. They've made this up in their head, and by golly, they're sticking to it. And surely, with your stated statements, you're able to help people with something that's pretty awful, not feeling worthy.
Yes. Well, we hope so.
And I think
Well, we've got a fellow down there in Florida sitting there. He's been addicted to helping education down through his life, and we thank God for that. Kirby, we don't want to leave you just because you're another pretty face. We shut the door on you. You're right here in spirit. So turn the mic over to you for just a couple of seconds here.
Well, I'd like to thank our small group. Like I said, there's 12 of us that are all involved. They let me be the leader of the organization for the outdoor bash, and each one of them has stepped up and assumed a role. And we got people that are helping park. We've got people that are singing in the choir. We've got people doing popcorn and games for the kids, and a lot of activity. And we just really want to open it up to anybody in the community that come around that day. If you want to come and listen to the music, it might be a good idea to bring a lawn chair, but we're going to have a full day of activities and fun for all.
Well, if you're asking me to sing, you're out of business. A famous high school music instructor told my mother one time, Edna, your kid can't sing. So that took care of that, me being active. So I just hum along with the hymns as it goes now. I don't want to be light about this. This is a very serious subject for Jeff Street Christian Church, who serve a lot of people. And I've known a number of people who are very faithful folks out there. And while we're speaking about that right now, we just say hello to Richard and Mary Ellen as we visit here this morning. Richard's probably busy trying to get some corn in right now this morning. Seriously, think about this, and as you think about it, put an extra couple of bucks, maybe a $5 or a $10 in your pocket, and go visit them and enjoy your day.
Well, there's plenty to enjoy, isn't there?
We hope so, yes. Kirby's worked hard at diversity in this event, and we think we've got something for every age group.
I'd say you've done very well on that. Yes.
I'm looking forward to riding in the horse-drawn wagon.
Oh, but listen, there are going to be so many city slicker kids that are going to be so happy to be able to do that. I've got a little grandson who lives here in Lincoln, America, and by golly, I'm going to take him out there. He's going to think that's a big darn deal.
My husband and I saw that team at the state fair. This summer, and they're beautiful gray Percherons. With a good-sized wagon. There'll be room for plenty at one ride. So.
And there'll be plenty of horsepower to pull it too, because those Percherons are big dudes.
Yes.
Where did you find the Bertrands? Where did they come from
Well,
to the fair and to you?
That's a question for Kirby. Where are they located? Kirby, is it in McLean?
It's in McLean. It's called the Big Horse Power Farm.
Yes.
Well, by golly, that's an
Horsepower
appropriate
farm,
name. Yeah.
Yeah, well, my granddad had Clydesdales and Percherons both. But he did. But I didn't get to drive them. I drove an old shank mare.
Well, they're beautiful animals, and
They
and
are powerful.
They were very well behaved when we saw them, and I think people will enjoy the wagon rides.
Let's have Kirby give us a rundown again, because we're almost out of minutes here, about the times and dates so that people can write it on their calendar so they remember and they take advantage of this that's offered by Jefferson Street Christian Church to the community.
Go ahead, Mr.
Okay, the church services are all 3 Sundays. They start September 26th, October 3rd, and October 10th. Those are our church services. 9 o'clock and 10:45. The actual community event is October 2nd. It starts at 11. Food starts a little bit later. Everything goes from 11 to 3. And there's plenty of activities for all.
For every age group. By golly, you've hit them all, Kirby.
Now, do you allow Episcopalians?
You bet we do.
Bill's an Episcopalian, that's why he's
Yes.
pushing them.
And along with the times and dates that Kirby mentioned, we're also getting ready to put out some door hangers in the community in the immediate area of the property, and there will be some other posters and that going up in the next few days. So people, and I believe, Elaine,
Yes.
in electronic media?
Yes, some of the electronic web-based news coverings have the information. The Logan County Tourism Bureau has it posted on their event. The WCIC, another radio station, has a community calendar, and they've posted it there. And of course, WLCN's had the info for quite a while. We're working with the Courier to get something in the newspaper, so that's still in progress. You haven't seen it yet, but so there should be word out there. People are going to have
You
the
betcha.
times. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being with us today. I
you.
wish you all kinds of luck, although you don't need it, because hard work goes before luck, and you've done the hard work.
Well, thank you for having us.
Yes.
Let's get each of them have a chance to sum up. Mr. Rodgers, give you a couple of seconds here to sum up, and then we'll pass the baton to the 2 ladies.
Well, that's fine. I'm just tickled to death to have an opportunity to have all kinds of events for people to come together and get to know you. And if you don't know us, all the chairmen are going to have volunteer T-shirts that says Jefferson Street Volunteer Ask Me.
All right, Mrs. Kline.
As I would reiterate what Kirby said, we just want to be able to introduce the congregation to more of the community, let them know where we are. That's one reason we're having this celebration, community celebration on the property, and so people know where we are and how they can contact us and how we can help.
Mrs. Woolard.
We're just looking forward to a great time and hope to get to make a lot of new friends from people that we're going to meet. So.
And,
You'll come.
and bring a broom so you can sweep up the chicken feathers.
No, that's Mr. Gossett's job. Don't.
Well, we appreciate the bottom line is we just want to make sure we get everybody in the community aware of what's going on at Jeff Street Christian Church. So
Thank you.
You're doing a great job and working with Gordon, and Gordon knows you've got some, and he does know, you've got some real valuable people out there, and it's nice to have them in the community. Thank you very, very much, ladies, and thank you, Kirby, for being with us this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.